Okay, so how well do you actually understand basic math? Well, if you have pretty strong basic math skills, this should be a very easy problem to solve without using a calculator. All right, so let's take a look at this problem. We have negative 2/3, but let me be a little bit more precise. Negative parentheses 2/3 and parentheses to the fourth power times parentheses 9 over 4 and parentheses squared. All right, so what is the answer to this question? Well, it's one of these numbers over here. So let's take a look at our choices. A is 1, B is -1, C is 18, and D is 9 over 2. So once again, the only rule here is no calculator. But if you can figure this out, go ahead and put your answer into the comment section. I'll share the correct answer in just 1 second. Then, of course, I'm going to walk through step by step how to solve this problem. But before we get started, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John, and I have been teaching middle and high school math for decades. And if you need help learning math, well, check out my math help program at tcmathacademy.com. You can find a link to that in the description below. And if this video helps you out, or if you just enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe, as that definitely helps me out. All right, so one more time, let's take a look at the problem. So we have some fractions here and some powers and some positive and negative numbers. But again, we have negative parentheses 2/3 and parentheses to the fourth power times parentheses 9 over 4 and parentheses squared. All right, so after we do all the number crunching here, what is the correct answer? Well, the correct answer is B, -1. All right, now if you got this right, you definitely get a happy face, an A plus, 100%, and a certificate of excellence for being a certified professional expert in many areas of basic math. And of course, you have to know a thing or two about fractions to do this problem and powers, right? So we have fractions and powers. But this part of the problem right here, I think could confuse a lot of people as well. So don't be discouraged if you're like, hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, I'm totally lost. Well, no big deal. By the time this video finishes, you'll be an expert as well. All right, so here is our problem. And as I indicated, we have a couple different things going on here, right? So we're trying to multiply fractions, but it's just not regular fractions. We're taking powers to these fractions. And then, of course, we have a negative number situation here. So what is the answer? Well, let's suppose you are a math student right now and you encounter this on a test. And you're like, hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, I'm totally lost. I can't even do this. What should I do? Well, always take a guess. Now, in this particular case, you can see that we have 2, 3, 9, and 4. So maybe you're thinking the answer is maybe a multiple of one of these numbers. So maybe like 18, right? Like 18 has something to do with 9. So you might select 18 as your answer, or maybe D. And those are good guesses. But unfortunately, this entire math problem equals -1. So really, the best way to get any math problem right is to just know the math. But just as a reminder, if you have a math test, for those of you that still have to take math exams, never ever leave a math question blank unless you get penalized for getting the wrong answer. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the math. And the first thing that I want to review with you is that we have a math problem here with different things going on, right? So what do we have? Well, we have multiplication, we have powers, and we have parentheses, right? So we have parentheses, and then of course we have this negative numbers. But when you have a math problem, that's more than just something like 2 plus 7, right? So here, 2 plus 7, there's only literally one thing to do. But if I go 2 plus 7 divided by 3, well, now I have two things to do. Now, the things that I'm doing to these numbers are called mathematical operations. So things like the plus sign and the division sign, these things are called mathematical operators. So here we have multiplication, but we are doing something to these two numbers, but we're also taking powers to these two numbers, and we have parentheses. So this is a good opportunity for us to quickly review the order of operations, which of course you can kind of really understand by following this lovely phrase right here called PEMDAS, right? So these letters stand for something, DAS. And let me go ahead and quickly explain to you the proper order of operation. So remember, when you have a math problem with more than one operation, you have to take the right order or you will get the problem wrong. All right, so the order of operations is a checklist. It works from left to right. So let's just quickly go through this. So we're going to start with P. P stands for parentheses. Okay, now parentheses are obviously these things right here, but the P is also, or parentheses, technically we're talking about things called grouping symbols. So you can group numbers together by parentheses or these kind of brackets or even these kind of squiggly brackets like this. So if I had 2 times 10 divided by 3 plus 1, well, I can create all sorts of groups. I can put parentheses here, or maybe I could put like brackets right here. These are groups, okay? So PEMDAS, or the P in PEMDAS, means start with any parentheses or grouping symbols that you might have and always go to the innermost parentheses or grouping symbol. So in this case, we would start the problem here. Now, this P, okay, in PEMDAS means that, if there's math to do inside of the grouping symbols, then do that math. But if you have just like a number in parentheses, well, there's nothing to do here. So really just kind of move on to the next step, which of course is E, and E stands for exponents, but you can think of this as powers. All right, so for example, 2 to the third power, the 3 is the exponent part of the power, the 2 is the base, the entire thing is a power. So E in our PEMDAS stands for powers or exponents, right? But you're going to be looking for things with powers. Now, of course, in our problem, we do have powers, so we want to be thinking about PEMDAS, even though that there's not too many operations here, we still kind of review through, reviewing our mental checklist, this PEMDAS. All right, now the next thing is a very confused part of the order of operations. And a lot of people would think, well, the next thing we should do is M. And that totally makes sense. And before I continue here, let me just tell you MD, A, and S. M stands for, or M is multiplication, D is division, A is addition, S is subtraction. Now, the next thing you're going to do is not just M. You're not just going to do M, right? That's not what we're going to do. Okay, what we're going to do is do M or D. Okay, so it's multiplication or division, whatever you see first from left to right. So, for example, if you have 10 divided by 2 times 5, okay, this is different than 10 times 2 divided by, let's say, 2. Okay, so in this case, uh, in this first problem here, and I'm going to have to slow my mental thoughts down here. I don't want to confuse you, but what do we see first from left to right in this problem? We see division first, then multiplication, right? So division, then multiplication. So we'll do the division first. So the M and D in PEMDAS stands for do what, if you have multiplication and division in a problem, you're going to do whatever you see first from left to right. So in this problem, we would do 10 divided by 2, okay, not 2 times 5. And you can see we'll end up with totally different answers if we start with multiplication. But in this problem, what do we see first from left to right? We see multiplication. So we're going to do this first, okay? So this is a very confused part of the order of operations, M and D. And A and S, the addition and subtraction, works the same way. You're going to do whatever you see first from left to right. All right, so a quick review of PEMDAS and order of operations. Now let's go ahead and just kind of look at some other aspects of this problem. We have fractions, and we're going to be multiplying some powers of fractions. Now, of course, we have a negative number situation here, but let's just quickly review how to multiply fractions, all right? We'll get into the powers and all this other stuff here in 1 second. But if you can't multiply basic fractions, well, the rest of this solution is not going to make sense. All right, so let's just suppose the problem was 2/3 times 9/4. How do we multiply fractions? Well, this is so easy. All you have to do is multiply the respective numerators, which are the top numbers of the fractions, times the respective denominator. So it's going to be 2 times 9. Okay, of course, this is going to be 18 over 3 times 4, which is 12, and then we would simply reduce this fraction. Okay, now if you are really good at cross canceling, you could say, oh, 4 is what? Well, that's 2 times 2. You could cross cancel 1, 2 right here, and 3 goes into 9, 3. So we have 3 halves. Or if we end up with the fraction 18 over 12, we can reduce that, right? 6 goes into 18, 3, and 6 goes into 12, 2, right? So we're going to have 3 halves. But we're talking about basic arithmetic here. Now, if you're like, yes, Mr. YouTube Math Man, the last time I was doing this was way back in 1978 or maybe 1988 or whatever the case might be, I totally get that. Now, if you want to relearn arithmetic, okay, or basic mathematics, I have two great options for you. One, I have a ton of videos on my YouTube channel that can help you out, but check out in the description of this video 2 courses. The first is my Math Foundations course. This is a quick 3-chapter mini course on basic mathematics. So I'm talking about arithmetic here to include the order of operations, just how to multiply, divide numbers, everything that we kind of learned in elementary school or primary school and forgot. Now, if you want to learn basic math, but you want to continue on by learning some algebra, geometry, and some other things, then check out my Math Skills Rebuilder course. But let's go ahead and continue on with this problem because we have to consider the next part of this problem, and that is the following. Okay, so we're thinking about the order of operations. We know that we're going to have to multiply some fractions here. We know how to do that. But this next part will tend to confuse a lot of people. And we have this negative parentheses 2/3 to the 4th power. Okay, so let's just talk real quick about powers and exponents and what they mean. So let's do something like this. Let's just get rid of these fractions and take this problem, 2 to the 4th power. How is this different to maybe 2 squared? Well, 2 to the 4th power means what? It means take 2, okay, and multiply it by itself 4 times. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. We have 4 2's. That is what 2 to the 4th power means. 2 squared means take 2 and multiply it by itself 2 times, or 2 times 2. Okay, so just make sure, or just wanting to make sure, that you understand basic powers and exponents, how this stuff works. All right, now there is a big difference here. I really want to stress this because this gives a lot of students a lot of difficulty, is the following, okay? Negative 2 squared, okay? Let's say we have this problem. Is this the same as negative 2, I'm not negative 2 to the 4th, negative 2 squared. Let me write this right. So negative parentheses 2 squared, is this the same as parentheses negative 2 squared, right? So that is my question to you. And if you think you know the answer, go ahead and put that into the comment section. Well, the answer here is no, these are not the same. Okay, there's a big difference between this, and we have to go back to our PEMDAS. Okay, so parentheses. So let's take this one right here, negative 2 squared. Okay, now why are these answers not the same? They look very, similar. Well, negative 2 squared means what? Well, we're taking negative 2, we're going to multiply it by itself 2 times. So this literally means take negative 2 times negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 is what? Well, a negative times a negative is a positive. So the answer here is a positive 4. Okay, so negative 2 squared means negative 2 times itself. Now this looks very, looks the same, right? It looks like, oh, we're going to do the same thing here, Mr. YouTube Math Man. Well, no, this is not what's going on here, okay? So when we think about the P, we're going to go to our parentheses. There's nothing to do in the parentheses. So we're going to go to E exponents. Now the exponent here, 2, is acting on the base negative 2, okay? But this 2 is only acting on the positive 2. This right here means the opposite or the negative of the answer to this, okay, which is 2 squared. So what is, and let me go ahead and erase this real quick. What is the opposite of 2 squared? Well, it's going to be 2 squared, which is what? 2 times 2, which of course is positive 4. And the opposite or the negative of a positive 4 is negative 4. Okay, so this means negative 4. Right, so this negative sign doesn't get squared. Okay, this is a very common source of confusion. So be careful when you are taking powers that you don't put that negative sign inside of the parentheses. Now, another way to kind of think of this situation is this negative is like a negative 1 times 2 parentheses squared. There is a number here. It's negative 1, right? So negative 1 times 2 squared. So when we think about the order of operations, What are we going to do first? We're going to do powers, e, exponents, and then we'll do multiplication. So we're going to do this, 2 squared, which of course is positive 4, and then multiply by that negative 1, which of course is negative 4. All right, so we have different kind of things going on here, right? We have this negative 2/3 to the fourth times 9 over 4 squared, okay? So now let's go ahead and put everything together to calculate the answer without using a calculator. All right, so here we go. So first of all, let's go ahead and define what each of these mean, and we're going to write this out the long way. Matter of fact, let's start with the easy part. I'll start over here. 9 to the fourth squared means what? Well, we're going to multiply 9 to the fourth times itself, right? So we're going to do this math, but we're going to multiply the answer to this, which is what? Well, it's going to be the negative of this, which is 2/3 to the fourth. So we have to be very careful here. We have 2/3 to the fourth, which means we're going to take 2/3 and multiply it by itself 4 times. So here we got 1, 2, 3, 4, but we'll take the opposite of this. So we have a negative sign here. So this is our setup. Okay, so we can figure out and do all the number crunching to this big problem, then we'll have the right answer. So some of you might be saying, boy, Mr. YouTube Math, man, I really don't want to do all this multiplication because what do we have? Well, we're multiplying this fraction times this fraction times this fraction. It's just one big fraction multiplication problem. So technically, okay, you would multiply all the numerators and all the denominators, but we don't have to do that. We don't have to say 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's 16 times 9 times 9 is 81. Don't do that. What we want to do is work smarter, not harder. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about right now. Okay, so here we can kind of break up. We know we have some 9/4 over here. We have 9 in the numerator. It would be awesome if we had 9s down in the denominator because these things would cross cancel. And we can form some 9s because here we could simply multiply pairs, these two pairs of 2/3 together. So for example, 2/3 times 2/3, well, this is going to be what? 2 times 2 is 4 over 9, right? 4 over 3 times 3 is 9. So we can think of this problem as negative 4 over 9 times another 4 over 9 times 9/4 over 9/4. Now we have an opportunity to cross cancel. In other words, this 9 will cross cancel with this 9, this 4 will cross cancel with this 4, and this is going to be a very easy problem. But do not forget this negative sign. This is probably a very common mistake that students will make. They'll get all excited. They're like, yes, Mr. YouTube Math Man, I'm going to do all this fraction, work. But you forget this little tiny negative sign here, and then, of course, you get the wrong answer. All right, so let's go ahead and do that right now. So here is the equivalent problem. So we have 9s in the denominator, 9s in the numerator, 4 in the numerator, 4s in the numerators, and 4s in the denominator, so we can literally just cross cancel factors 1 for 1. Okay, so for example, let me go ahead and just show you this. This 9 here would cross cancel with this 9. So you just draw one line through it like so. This 9 would cross cancel with this 9. Now, what do I mean by cross canceling? Let me just be really clear about this. 9 over 9 is what? 9 divided by 9 is 1. So anytime we have the same number in the numerator and the denominator, okay, you're just dividing this number by itself, which is 1. So that's what we're doing. This is called cross canceling. But this is effectively what we're just doing. We're canceling one factor per one factor. So this 9 here cannot cross cancel 2 9s. It can only cross cancel 1 9. So this one cross cancel this one, and we're left with 1s. Okay, not zeros. So this 9 cross cancels this one. We're left with 1s. This 4 takes care of this 4, and this 4 takes care of that 4. So what do we have? We just have one big 1, but remember we have this negative 1. Okay, well, this is a negative answer. Okay, so it's the negative of doing all this math. And of course, the final answer is negative 1. All right, so hopefully this was an interesting video. And if you're saying, hey, not too bad, Mr. YouTube Math Man, well, if you like my stuff, and I try to post interesting math problems from basic math to more advanced math, I definitely can use your help to continue to grow my YouTube channel. And the best way you could support this channel is just to simply hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. And again, if you're looking to relearn math or learn math for the first time, check out my full main math courses. You'll find links to those in the description of this video. And for the things that we're talking about, again, here, you want to check out like my Math Foundations or my Math Skills Rebuilder course. And also, for those of you that like digital products, printable products, I have different levels of math notes that you can get. You can see basically go to the description. Sometimes my notes should pop up underneath the video. It all depends. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not, but the links will be in the description. But, anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this problem. And that is my goal with every single video I post. I try to make math interesting. I try to teach you something, but I try to make it, an enjoyable experience. Math doesn't have to be too torturous. I know a lot of you out there don't particularly like math. You just have to learn it. I totally get that. But if you have to learn something, we, certainly want to try to have the best attitude towards the, subject. Okay, so with all that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your math adventures. Thank you for your time and have a great day.